Good morning, students of class 12th. In the previous video, we have discussed that what is the method of calculating national income through income method, and the method which we are going to discuss today is our expenditure method. Okay, it is our expenditure method. So let us discuss that how do we calculate national income by expenditure method. See, in expenditure method, there are basically four heads of income. It is the sum total of the expenditure done by the people in the economy, right? And that is how we calculate national income. See, the first head of expenditure method is private final consumption expenditure. It is the basic figure. Okay, it is the expenditure done on the purchase of final goods by the consumer section. So that is private final consumption expenditure, the goods which are consumed by the consumer, and the expenditure done is called as private final consumption expenditure. It is denoted by the term C. Next is your government final consumption expenditure. It is the expenditure done by the government on consumption of final goods, and it is known as government final consumption expenditure. It is denoted by the term G. The third one is your investment expenditure. Investment expenditure is denoted by the term I. Okay, and the most difficult head is investment expenditure only. We will discuss it greater in a greater detail. Let us first of all understand the fourth head, and the fourth head is your net exports. Okay, so let us discuss about investment expenditure, or I. Investment expenditure is given by many names in the questions, in the question of national income, and that name is gross domestic capital formation. Okay, and gross domestic capital formation is further subdivided into two types, that is gross domestic fixed capital formation, and the other one is inventory investment, or we can also say it as change in stock. It is the same change in stock that we have studied in our production method, and the formula is also same. It is closing stock minus opening stock. Okay, so it is investment expenditure and it is gross domestic fixed capital formation. The other name is this, and it comprises of two heads, that is fixed capital formation, gross domestic fixed capital formation, or inventory investment, right? These two heads comprises and make the gross domestic capital formation. Now, when we add all the four heads, and net exports is known by the name of X minus M, that is import minus export. When we add all these four heads, the thing that we get is GDP at MP. Okay, now we don't get national income from that. As we know, the aggregate for national income is known as NNP at FC. So the thing that we need to do is to convert GDP at MP into NNP at FC. Okay, and how do we do that? First of all, before thinking that how do we do that, first of all, let us remember those flow charts that we have studied, right? And that those flowcharts are very important. I am making them in every video. It is important for you students to learn those flowcharts, because if you will be learning those flowcharts, then only you can understand the questions and you will be able to solve them. Otherwise you won't be able to solve the questions of national income at all. And students, national income is a very important chapter for your economic subject, because a question of 8 number will always be there in the paper of national income, in the paper of economics, or for numerical part, right? It is very important to learn those flow charts, right? So let us revise them once again. There are concepts, one is broad and the other one is a narrow concept, right? So a broad concept consists of gross, and a narrow one is called as net, and the difference between the gross and net is called as depreciation. Okay, the difference is called as depreciation. And if you want to go from gross to net, you will have to add depreciation, and if you want to go from net to gross, then you will have to deduct depreciation. Okay, the other one is your national production and domestic production. And domestic production. The difference between national production and domestic production is the net factor income from abroad. And if you want to go from a broader concept of national production to a narrow concept, then you will have to deduct NFIA. And if you want to go from a domestic production to national production, then you will have to add NFIA. The other one is your market price and factor cost. Always remember that price is greater than cost. So it is market price and it is factor cost, and the difference between the two is of net indirect taxes. So if you want to go from market price to factor cost, then you will have to deduct net indirect taxes, and if you want to go from factor cost to market price, then you will have to add net indirect taxes. These are the three flow charts. You should learn them, you should remember them, you should summarize them. It should be on your fingertips. Okay, so here it is. Now after that, we have to convert this GDP at MP to NNP at FC, because NNP at FC is the aggregate which shows national income, and it is GDP at MP which we get. Now we want to convert this G to this N, means we have to convert gross to net. For converting gross to net, I have already told you that you will have to subtract depreciation for converting gross to net. So it is minus depreciation. If you want to convert domestic production to national production, now domestic production is a narrow concept and national production is a broader concept, so you will have to add NFIA, net factor income from abroad. And for converting market price to factor cost, this is market price, and for converting it to factor cost, what you will have to do for converting market price to factor cost, from going here to here, you will subtract NIT, and that is subtraction of NIT. Okay, so I hope you would have understood that how do we calculate national income from your expenditure method, right? There are four heads: private final consumption expenditure, government final consumption expenditure, investment expenditure, and net exports. When you will add those, you will get GDP at MP, right? And then you will have to convert that GDP at MP to NNP at FC. Now students, as you have learned that there are three methods, and you have also learned that how do we calculate income from all those three methods, but you haven't done any of the numerical part for that, right? Only you have done for the product method. And product method also there are 2 or 3 questions that we have done. In the next videos we will be discussing some of the questions of the numerical part, that how do we calculate the questions, how do we do the questions in the numerical part, so that you will be able to understand that. Okay, but till then let us have a brief discussion on all the three methods, right? So that you may revise. It is GDP at MP, and this is how we do it in expenditure method, right? In expenditure method. Now we also calculate national income from product method and from income method. When we add the when we do the calculation from product method, then also the aggregate which we get is GDP at MP. And when we do it by income method, the aggregate which we get is NDP at FC, and it is done through income method. Now what you need to do is to convert this to national income, because whether it is income method, expenditure method, or it is value added method or product method, the value which we will get is not national income. We are not getting NNP at FC from any of the methods. All the three methods take us to a particular point, whether it is GDP at MP in the case of value added and expenditure method, or whether it is NDP at FC in the case of income method. So we will have to convert those into national income, because the aggregate of national income will always remain the same, and that is NNP at FC. So what you need to do is to convert now this NDP at FC to NNP at FC. Okay, so how do we do that? For converting NNP at FC, and we got NDP at FC, because our income method will give you NDP at FC only. So what you need to do is to deduct, we have to deduct the indirect, the NFIA, or add NFIA, sorry. We will have to add NFIA, because for converting domestic product to national product, you need to add NFIA. Okay, so NDP at FC and NNP at FC, we will get NFIA. Okay, and for converting GDP at MP to NNP at FC, we will have to deduct depreciation, we'll have to add NFIE, and we have to deduct NIT. And students, you might have been confused that whether the question is solved by income method, product method, or expenditure method. See students, for that you need to focus on the elements which are given in the question. If the question is a product method, then there will be the elements given for the product method. If there is income method, then elements will be of income method, and that is by expenditure, then we will be getting elements of the expenditure method. But there are some questions in which we get the elements for income method as well as expenditure method all together. All the elements of income method will be there, and all the elements of expenditure method will be there. Then in that case you might be having confusion that from which method we should do. In that case, when the elements of both the methods are present, the question will instruct you, will tell you that from which method you need to do the questions. And always remember that whether you do it by value added method, whether you do it by income method, or whether you do it by expenditure method, the value of national income, the value of N and P at FC will not change, it will be constant. It will come the same from all the three methods. So students, till then stay at your home and stay safe, and we will meet in the next questions, in the next videos, in which we will be doing questions for income method and expenditure method. Okay, and our theoretical part of national income chapter is complete now. We will be just going with the numerical part only from the next video. Till then, stay home and stay safe. Thank you.